Today, we're going to take a trip not just across America, but deep into the mind of the philosopher Umberto Eco. See, he wasn't just a tourist. He was more like a detective, on the hunt for something he called hyperreality, a place where the line between what's real and what's fake just completely vanishes.
And his whole investigation, his entire journey, really boils down to this one single, fascinating question that's going to frame everything we talk about today. What happens when the copy, the imitation, becomes so good that it's more appealing, more satisfying, and, in a really weird way, more real than the original? So let's follow his trail and see what he dug up.
Okay, so where do we even start? Well, first, we've got to understand what Eco was even looking for. He spotted this huge difference in how America and Europe thought about fantasy and amusement. The first thing that really jumped out at Eco was just the sheer scale of it all. In Europe, he said you might go to an amusement house or a park, but in America, whoa. He found entire cities built just for fun. And these weren't just cities in name only. They were, as he put it, absolutely fake cities, engineered from the ground up to be a total immersive illusion. And this brings us to the core concept of his whole search, the absolute fake. Now, this isn't just a good copy. No. This is a copy that has been specifically designed to be better than the real thing. It's cleaner, it's more thrilling, it's more reliable. It's basically a reality upgrade.
So, Eco's first big stop on this journey, it wasn't where you might expect. He didn't jet off to some futuristic place. Nope, he started in the dusty, reconstructed ghost towns of the American West, places like Knott's Berry Farm, to see how this whole illusion machine gets started.
So you walk in, and the illusion starts off pretty simple. You see a prisoner in the jail cell. Okay, he's a wax dummy. Your brain kind of logs it. Got it. Part of the show. Obvious fake. Simple enough, right?
But then, things start to get a little fuzzy. You wander over to the general store. It looks like just another part of the set, Another display you're supposed to just look at. And that boundary between what you can touch and what's just for show, it starts to blur.
And then, bam, the twist. The guy who looks like another actor in costume, he's actually a real shopkeeper. And the store that looks like a museum exhibit, it's a real functioning store where you can buy real stuff. And just like that, the very real act of buying something has been seamlessly blended into the fiction. You're not just watching the show anymore, you're a part of it. The effect was so powerful, people actually started to lose their grip on reality. Eco himself overheard a tourist genuinely ask his wife if the kids running around were real or if they were just more props in the simulation. That's when you know the illusion has totally worked.
All right, so from the dusty streets of the fake Old West, Eco travels to what he considers the absolute peak, the main event, the Sistine Chapel of the absolute fake, Disneyland.
The second you set foot on Main Street, the illusion kicks in with this brilliant architectural trick. The ground floors of all the buildings are full size, right? So they feel real, sturdy, like you can walk right in. But the upper floors, they're actually built at a 2/3 scale. And that subtle shift does something to your brain. It makes the whole street feel both completely real and like a perfect, charming little fantasy, all at the same time.
But why? Why go to all this trouble? Well, Eco's answer is pretty direct. Main Street isn't just a street. He calls it a disguised supermarket. All that fantasy, that nostalgia, that perfect architecture, it's all there to make you lower your guard. To put you in this state where you shop and shop and shop because you believe it's all just part of the game.
And this is the real genius of it. You see, unlike a wax museum that's trying to trick you, Disneyland is proud of its fakeness. It sells you on the perfection of its fantasy. And then it uses that perfect fantasy world to sell you very, very real merchandise, basically hacking your desire to buy things.
Of course, for any of this to work, the illusion has to be absolutely flawless. So this is where Eco kind of pops the hood and looks at the technology, the craftsmanship, that makes this hyperreality so totally convincing.
He points to two attractions in particular as the ultimate expression of the whole Disneyland philosophy: Pirates of the Caribbean and the Haunted Mansion. Not because they're the most thrilling rides, but because they represent what he calls total theater, an environment so immersive, so complete, you can't even see where the seams are.
And what's the engine driving this total theater? It's a groundbreaking technology called audio animatronics. We're not talking about stiff, jerky robots here. These things were masterpieces of engineering, designed to be more real than reality itself.
The process to create just one of these figures was, well, it was meticulous. To make a single pirate, Disney's engineers would first study a real actor's expressions.
Then they'd build this incredibly precise robotic skeleton, program every single tiny movement and sound to sync up perfectly, and set it to repeat that performance flawlessly forever. The result? A performer that never misses a cue.
And all of this leads to this really profound psychological shift in you, the visitor. You're not just enjoying a pretty good imitation, you're enjoying the feeling that this imitation is so perfect that any real-life version you could possibly imagine would just be a disappointment. The copy has officially become better than the original.
So this brings us to the final and, frankly, kind of mind-bending conclusion of Umberto Eco's journey. What's the ultimate purpose, the meaning of the absolute fake?
Why is the fake superior? Well, in a word, reliability. Eco gives this perfect example. If you're on a real river tour, the guide might say, hey, if we're lucky, we might see a crocodile, but it'll probably just be sleeping or hiding. Reality is messy and unpredictable, but at Disneyland, that fake crocodile comes out of the water, snaps its huge jaws, and goes back under at the exact same time every single time. It delivers the perfect experience on demand.
And that right there, that gets to the very heart of it. According to Eco, the deep-down message of Disneyland is that our technology has gotten so good that it can now give us a reality that is more compelling, more vivid, and just plain more satisfying than nature itself ever could. But there's a price for all this perfection. To get into this perfectly engineered dream, you have to play by its rules. You're guided by railings, told where to go, when to sit, when to stand. In a way, to enjoy this perfect world of perfect robots, you have to agree to behave a little bit like a robot yourself. And this is the big question Eco's whole journey leaves us with. If we keep getting better and better at building these perfect, satisfying fakes, and we find ourselves choosing them more and more over the messy, unpredictable, and often disappointing real world, what does that say about the reality we seem so eager to escape?